Hi, Squagnut here. This is a video response to a video called Ridicule is Not a Line of Reasoning by The Honest Theist. I appreciate what you say about atheists using ridicule to attack theism. It's true, some atheists do this, but there's a legitimate debate about the existence of God. In any debate, you don't get to choose your opponent's arguments. As I'll explain, comparing God with Santa and pink unicorns is a perfectly valid form of argument. I'm sorry if you find that you're not in the argument you want, but it doesn't work like that. Your video is entitled Ridicule is Not a Line of Reasoning, and you pursue that argument in your video. Well, yes it is. The flying spaghetti monster, etc. are products of a reductio ad absurdum argument. Wikipedia says, reductio ad absurdum is a logical rebuttal that takes a proposition to its logical extremes and examines the veracity of the conclusions the proposition implies in those extremes. In your video, you don't defend the idea of the existence of deities, you defend the idea of one aspect of your preferred deity. You describe God as an intelligence. Your argument is effectively a straw man. You ask atheists to clarify their position, so here goes, as if atheists have not clarified their position. The idea of non-human intelligence is not abhorrent to me. The thing is, all the intelligence I know of is a product of biology. Given that there are billions of galaxies, each containing hundreds of billions of stars, I'd be surprised if there is no intelligence elsewhere in the universe, as a story similar to Earth's unfolds. Intelligence isn't the issue. The problem with God is that God is supernatural. You might have noticed that there have been many gods, each going in and out of fashion. It seems fair to assume that gods are things that people have made up, since the stories about gods can't all be true, and there's no reason to give one book of scripture or deity any more credence than any other, or than, say, Lord of the Rings, or Santa, the Tooth Fairy, the Invisible Pink Unicorn, or the Flying Spaghetti Monster. And the fact that you're not swayed by such arguments doesn't remove God from the same set as these beings, the set of imagined things. It's no more ridiculous to believe in the Flying Spaghetti Monster than in God. If you disagree, please explain why you believe your preferred deity is more plausible than our noodly friend. Who says a burning bush can be a god, but a serving of pasta and meatballs cannot? Another part of the position I adopt is to do with respect. I respect the right of anybody to believe whatever they want, no matter how abhorrent or incredible those beliefs may seem to me. In any case, I don't know how to prevent anybody believing whatever they want without resorting to extreme methods such as brainwashing. I respect everybody's right to free speech and free expression, and I respect the right of reply. But this is only about respect of rights. I'm under no obligation to respect anybody's beliefs, and so they stand or fall on their own merit according to how well they satisfy the criteria I use to assess things. Your freedom of speech is as important to me as my own, however, and neither of us are guaranteed the right not to be offended. And it seems you are offended, or at least you don't think that arguments which involve ridiculing religion deserve to be taken seriously. It doesn't matter to me whether or not you believe in God, I don't care about converting you, but unless you can explain why God is not in the same supernatural category as the Flying Spaghetti Monster, you haven't actually made a point. Unlike people from any religion, atheists have at least got their story straight, which isn't bad considering we argue all the time. The usual statement of belief atheists give is that, due to the lack of evidence for God, we don't believe there is a God, which is not the same as believing there is not a God. To me, God's existence doesn't seem impossible, but that's only because I don't know about the limit of what is possible, but it does seem very, very unlikely. In short, I don't know anything at all about God, or whether or not he exists, but I don't find the question of God's existence to be any more important than the question of the Flying Spaghetti Monster's existence. It may be a more interesting question for me, however, simply because God is the most popular supernatural being in my native culture. He has a huge fan base, and of course, people do things in the name of religion. You say how it took you a while to be able to listen to religious people. Have you ever noticed that very often the God they tell you about has their own defining attributes, only in a bigger and more powerful way? If you're a homophobe, God is a homophobe. If you're racist, God is racist. It's not always the bad qualities. If you believe in equality and justice for all, God believes in equality and justice for all. In your case, God is intelligent and intellectual, and it seems he designed the universe. An intelligent designer. Effectively, you posit the teleological argument, the so-called argument from design. We have ways to distinguish designed objects from undesigned objects. I hope you know the difference between a tree and a roof truss. A question for you. If the universe had not been designed and created by a god, what would it be like, and how do you know? You insist that we are obliged to ask why there is a universe, why we are here, and so on. That's nonsense. The universe is not obliged to have a purpose. Indeed, the universe is not obliged to make any sense at all, and we're lucky that we do have a few ideas about it. We're very lucky to be here at all, but any meaning our lives have is the meaning we carve out for ourselves, and focusing on how inferior I am to my invisible friend does not seem to me to be the best use of my short time here. But that's not to say there are no questions worth asking. Many atheists love science, as that is the best way to understand the universe from the evidence it presents. I spend much time looking through a telescope or a microscope, and the questions I ask are, what can I say about this? What can I learn? And not, what does it all mean? The universe and the things in it are what they are. They're not symbols for something else. You may think you don't trust the human intellect, but you can only judge the human intellect by its products, so which products of the human intellect don't you trust? Does that distrust continue when you visit a doctor? Do you trust yourself to leave the house by the front door rather than by an upstairs window? If you paid attention to what atheists actually say, you'd know we admit there are many things about the universe we don't know, and this not knowing is actually important. It isn't a problem, since science is driven by questions. Ignorance is the most exciting place to be for scientists. If we don't know something, then it's better and more honest to admit we don't know than to pretend we do. It seems to me that many believers are quite happy to accept the findings of modern science, except for those that contradict Scripture. It's great that you appreciate the universe, but it seems to me that you project your emotions onto it in order to see what you want to see, and then infer what you want to infer. You see order and beauty and life and so on. I agree, and so do I, but do you not also see chaos and disease and death? Is that also designed? We agree that the universe had a beginning, but I don't assign any personal attributes to whatever happened that triggered the Big Bang. I don't see any need to. You say you find atheists arrogant, yet we don't believe that humans have a special place in the universe. We're just a species which has evolved. We'll be around for a while yet, but one day we'll be gone. Just as in a few billion years the sun will expand and consume all the nearby planets, and it won't have meant anything. It will be as it will be, and that's all. If you want to learn about where we came from, then study evolution. If, having studied it, you can show any part of it to be wrong, there's probably a Nobel Prize for you.